Welcome back, everybody. You got Will and Iman here from the Block Runner, MetaZone, and Rovi. And today we're going to be talking about the Metaverse and its prediction now at $1.5 trillion by a new entity.
Damn, dude, that's like a downgrade, isn't it?
It is a downgrade.
It was like 8 trillion like a few months ago. What the fuck's going on? At first, I thought this was bullish. Now you just made me bearish.
Yeah, I mean, well, what's interesting is that we have another prediction in the trillions.
It's true.
And you and I were just riffing about whether or not this is like reasonable for the Metaverse.
Or just reasonable for anything, right? We're struggling to like conceptualize like the value of multi-trillions, right? Like from like an existing industry standpoint.
Yeah,
like,
we're trying to find equivalent industries in the trillions. And then, you know, if you think about the movie industry and the entertainment industry and gaming industry,
I think if you add them all together, you're nearing $1 trillion probably.
Maybe $1 trillion.
Yeah, you might get lucky if you can crack that, even that.
And
so what has to happen then
exactly. So what has to happen
to like extrapolate what's going on today and to like make these predictions like somehow we're gonna do something of difference in the future, in the near future, within the next 5 to 10 years. That's going to add on all this new additional value out of like pretty much nowhere.
Yeah, exactly.
How does that
out
happen?
Of thin air, literally.
Yeah. So what are we gonna do?
So I think it has to do with, and now I think we might be giving too much credit to these institutions if we say this, but it has to do with the idea of going from analog to digital, right? Right now we have an economy in the analog space, right?
Yeah.
We have to drive to get food.
Okay.
You know, do this analog like IRL stuff.
Yeah.
Which sucks in comparison to the Metaverse.
Yeah.
And all that activity could be translated and had upon in the digital space. And so people will start getting an identity in the Metaverse, and they would start to identify with their avatar and therefore willing to spend good money on like how they view themselves. Mm-hmm. And so that could be one element where the psychological connection between our identity and the digital space could lead to multi-trillion-dollar like industry.
Yeah, to me, the way I think about it and the way I'm predicting it, and because if we're proclaiming like, you know, this future economy, this digital economy that's fixated on the Metaverse or whatever is being, you know, output by Metaverse activity, if it's solely going to be like a transitionary state from what exists right now, from like people who spend their time playing games and stuff like that, they're gonna at some point transition to the Metaverse to try, for whatever reasons, whatever those lures are. But I don't think that's the case. I think the reason why this all of a sudden this economic boom is going to come from people who aren't actively participating today.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, it's this unknown force that hasn't been tapped into yet, right?
Yeah,
and it's called humanity. That is the unknown force.
The disenfranchised part of humanity.
The part that people would like to not look at.
Yeah.
The ugly part of our existence, right? It's the people we've kind of like shunned away from our modern existence, infrastructure, whatever we want to call it, systems.
Dude, you're so right. I don't know why I didn't think about that before, but
that's where it's going to come from, right? Like, we're like, what? Trillions?
Yeah.
How do we generate trillions of value? Well, it's because we have billions of people just sitting on the sideline waiting to participate.
Yeah.
Right? Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah, that's just $10 each, dude. No big deal, right?
Yeah, just get them in, right? You just, and like we already identified, it's not the Metaverse. The biggest thing about the Metaverse that's going to get us to that point is access. As long as it's accessible to everybody.
Good. Yeah, so true.
Yeah, like we're going to figure out all these economic externalities, right, that get us to these multi-trillion-dollar economies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So onboarding, you know, a few billion people to the Metaverse, I can see that turning into $1 trillion industry easy.
Yeah, and I can see that where like all this speculation of digital societies like starts to become viable, right? Because these are people who come from broken societies, you know, in the real world. So they're looking for a new place to call home. Even if it's in the virtual space, it doesn't matter. It's something I can identify with. I'll pay my digital taxes, dude. Fuck it. Yeah. If it means I get to like, you know, have the benefits of this digital organization, whatever it is.
Well, not only that, and be able to pay the bills by spending that time there.
Yeah, like imagine, like it's already happening in these like micro play to earn, like in our own guild. Yeah, not our guild, the B1 Crew Guild. Mm-hmm. There's perks and benefits to being part of that organization, right? Like they onboard new players within the ecosystem very efficiently. They educate them real quickly. They get them up and running with the right equipment, aka Rovies and accessories, stuff like this. So there's great perks in being part of that. Think of that as like a very beginning of like a digital society, right?
So what needs to happen in order to onboard those people? Basically, we know that they have a cell phone. We know that they have internet access.
Yeah.
So does that mean the metaverse needs to be accessible via the mobile phone?
Well, I mean, people could also get computers, right? But for sure, accessibility is the key word always.
Yeah, but I think the billion people who could participate have at least a cell phone, maybe not a computer.
At least like the mundane activities of the metaverse, where it requires the participation of
low-powered computers.
Yeah, just like the tasks of the metaverse that are repetitive, or that can be kind of like or parallel to labor, right? Real world labor. Like if you could just make that part of the metaverse experience as a mobile one.
Yeah.
And it's still tied into maybe like a much more broader, like a complex, non-sustainable on the mobile system, experience. But like, and that's what blockchain enables. You can create these like mobile ecosystems, right? Because it's all connected to the same on-chain asset base and stuff like that. So even if you're playing on mobile, you're still, participating in like a broader ecosystem, right?
But I think the problem with this is that the $1 trillion, most of the money comes from people who have money, and the disenfranchised typically don't have money to spend on these assets.
No, but they have themselves and time and stuff like this, right?
The time, yeah.
So the people with money have to architect these systems where people with money can leverage their position to onboard those without.
Yeah.
But those without the money and stuff, they have a resource that's even more valuable. It's the time, the resource of time, the resource of human effort, activity, things like this.
It's hard to quantify the value of time because it varies. It varies from person to person.
Yeah. Well, we've successfully quantified it, like in our modern civilization, meaning like everybody is expected to allocate at least 8 hours of their 24-hour time spent on a day on this earth.
Yeah, but one person 8 hours is different than the next person, right? So
then you start.
So if you're straight out of high school, you get paid less. But
then things like skill starts to come in, right?
Yeah,
which is fine. Even in these like
it's still going to apply in the metaverse, right?
Exactly. But it starts off at a baseline expectation, right? Time. As long as you got that, you got a shot.
You can compete.
You got a chance to just exist and provide some value to the economy.
Yeah, this is interesting perspective. Now, so this conversation makes sense to us because we've been talking about the metaverse since 2019.
Yeah.
And do you think, I mean, I have to give credit to these institutions. They have the personnel, they have the degree to understand like what you and I are talking about.
Yeah.
Do you think that they're thinking about this, that we're going to onboard 1 billion people as a result of this blockchain level metaverse?
I don't know if I don't think they see it the same way we do. I think they just understand like the.
You think this is a trend that they're just like hopping on and like?
No, I think they're catching inklings of it because of like Axie kind of like showcased the world like this is possible, right? Like there was a moment last year where, I mean, multiple millions of people got involved in like one game ecosystem, right? And all you have to do is extrapolate from there. What can this tap? If we have like an infinite variety of these types of digital economies, what can that do to humanity, right? Just extrapolate from there, and then so what comes after that, right? Like
so they are thinking about it. Then they have to. I mean, how do you?
Why else would you position yourself this strongly, right?
Yeah,
like because these are big positions they're making, right? And it's not just the economic aspect too. There's also social elements that are very important.
Yeah,
it's everything, dude.
Yeah, I mean, speaking about the social elements, I was telling you about there's this, I don't know, documentary or movie on HBO, and it's the entire movie is shot inside VR chat.
Yeah.
And they're talking about all the individual experiences that people have. They like fall in love, and they spend so much time in VR chat that their identity is like tied within this like virtual world.
See that side of the equation, I think seems like something more like the Western audience would gravitate towards more.
You think so? Yeah.
I think the Western audience,
they're comfy. They want like
financially, we're all good and taken care of. We all have full bellies and shit. We live in nice domiciles, but we all have sick heads. Like We're all sick
Yeah.
mentally, and we're all lonely as fuck, and we've destroyed any sense of community within our lives.
Well, would you call that sickness though? I mean,
absolutely.
Really?
I think so.
I mean,
I think there's plenty of evidence to suggest, like, a lot of like our Western.
But how can you say that when you would spend so much time playing WoW?
No. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think the Western audience is going to gravitate towards the metaverse for that use case. Like,
for the social, just
the social side to kind of like supplement what's missing from our modern society, right? We spend a lot less time.
You said sickness though.
What?
Like that people would want to spend time in the virtual world. Like, how is that?
Well, because like we're just mentally anguished, dude. It's just being in this 24-hour hustle of being in a very productive economy means we have to be very productive people, and like we spend less time with our families, less time with our friends, less time building communities, all the stuff that's like core to the human experience. Like it's eliminated. It's not what's important in like modern society.
Okay.
So we create these virtual environments where things like community can flourish and things like relationships can be built much more easily and readily. You don't have to really go anywhere. You can do this shit from the comfort of your home.
Well, the reason why I ask is because, you and I are in a space, I guess, considered niche, right? Crypto.
Sure.
I mean, it's kind of mainstream to a degree, but not really.
Yeah.
And in order for us to find people that we identify with, we'd have to go online.
Yeah.
And so maybe these people are just people who don't find like humans around them that think alike. And so they spend more time online.
Yeah.
And like we used to spend a lot of time on video games, but it wasn't because, I wouldn't call it like a sickness or anything, but I think the VR chat like shows an example of what we experienced when we were in Decentraland and that rocket launch during that SpaceX event. Yeah. There was something about that event that triggered something that sort of like unveiled something about you could have human experiences in the digital space.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what this VR chat is really indicating, that you can have all the human experiences that you would have in real life, but have that completely virtual with someone, across the planet.
Yeah. And that's all I mean by like, I think this is a use case for the metaverse that I think the West.
I don't think
that's largely what we're like, show the Zuckerberg picture or whatever. Like,
let me bring it up here.
The reason why we're like being captivated by these headlines of multi-trillion-dollar predictions is because clearly like the mass culture, the existing like cultural zeitgeist is the metaverse is a bad thing because they're correlating it or equating it with Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook and stuff like that. And then they see images like this, like, what? You expect us to get excited over this shit? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, let's be real here, dude. I can have way more fun playing anything else, literally.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. They think play. Yeah. They think game. Because this is the stuff, us as Western people, that's what we do. That's what we're expecting. We're expecting this metaverse thing to be a game, right? So,
I agree. I mean, I don't think anyone who's disenfranchised is going to put on a VR headset and, like, find love out there.
Or complain about the graphics. It's like, oh, man, this place is ugly.
Yeah.
I could go, interact with this, and that, and, like, make this much.
Yeah.
Crypto or money for myself, but because, it looks like this, you know what? Screw this, dude. I'm going back to my hut.
Yeah. I totally agree. And they wouldn't complain and they wouldn't, waste a ton of time like having social experiences when they don't have the necessary components to like exist.
And it all goes back to that Maslow, dude. That Maslow freaking pyramid, dude. I don't know if Javier edits these anymore, but if he does, dude, throw it on the screen.
Yeah.
That Maslow hierarchy of needs. We're talking about different demographics here, and us Western people, those base layers are satisfied.
They're satisfied.
We wake up in the morning
not
having to be concerned with that stuff because, that is the luxury of modern society, right?
Yeah.
But again, we're talking about different demographics here,
So ultimately, the support for 1.5 trillion or 12 trillion, if you're Goldman Sachs,
I'm predicting it's going to come from
onboarding billions.
Yeah, the people who are stuck on those baselines of that hierarchy.
So that supports our narrative that the
economy
metaverse
is everything.
The economy is everything, and the metaverse is going to compete with the GDP of nations as a result.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and I think
if you can onboard all those people, I mean, for one, there's more.
That would be the biggest nation.
It would trump everything.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy.
It's possible. Our digital civilizations could be more powerful than our physical ones.
Shit,
it's totally possible, doable, dude. Why not?
So that means
technology enables this For sure.
DAO governance is going to be a huge deal.
Yeah.
DeFi, another huge deal in the context of the metaverse.
Yeah. JP Morgan's going to be scrambling to take over like the DeFi ecosystem at some point. They're not going to want to lose out on that.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
But, you know, they have all the liquidity, so they could support somehow, right? They could participate.
Oh, they'll come in eventually, just like now the governments are trying to create their own CBDCs or whatever they call them.
That's right, CBDCs, centralized bank.
Yeah, at some point, all these institutional entities they'll play ball, and then they'll see the value, and then they'll just put aside all the bullshit they've been saying over the years and try and dominate as they do.
Yeah, you know? And they have a chance because they have the resources.
Yeah, remember there was another headline article that I don't think we ever talked about, but maybe we'll talk about in the next one. I think it was like the Bank of England where it said the metaverse could like destroy like the whole economy or something like that.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. Like the digital just could become that much more like lucrative and valuable and more desirable. People might abandon the physical world.
That's so crazy.
Possible. It could happen.
So Ready Player One, essentially, where people go to work, put a headset on, and then after that they just go find something to eat and they just continue grinding.
Yeah, because virtual is just that much better, I guess.
Yeah. Dang.
Yep.
All right. So that's been the metaverse and the predictions and trying to figure out whether or not we can actually achieve such high predictions. And ultimately, we think it's going to be from the onboarding of billions of people who are disenfranchised and not participating in the entire ecosystem anyways.
Yeah.
So let us know what you think. Do you feel like billions of people are going to add to this $1 trillion economy, or do you see that coming from like the existing participants of the ecosystem?
Yeah.
Let us know in the comment section below. Follow us on Twitter at The Block Runner and at MetaZone.io, Roby AI, and we will catch you in the next video.
Peace.